Rebecca, I'm gonna toss it on over to you, and I'm gonna let you guys talk about what you saw and heard.
Well, Tanya, that by far is probably one of the most emotional and heart wrenching things I've ever heard in a courtroom. The family did leave the mom and father, and some of the family members left and did not listen to it. And then the judge also asked the gallery if anybody cannot make it through the next, through this entire video, then you may want to go ahead and leave right now because he warned everyone. And it is you basically hear Tanner Horner torturing this little girl. We still have 30 more minutes of this video before they broke for lunch, and the judge told us there's still another 30 more minutes of graphic video. But you see them first walk up to the vehicle. She's following him into the van, and then he lifts her up and puts her in the van, and she's saying, where are we going? And Terry, I'm gonna let you also kind of talk to what you saw. Mhm.
Hey, we're struggling to hear Terry. Is it a little bit something wrong with her audio?
Uh, n- no, it might just be because we're sharing our ear pods. Can you not hear?
No, I can't.
Okay, let me take let yeah okay, let me just see if that can you hear her now, Tanya? Okay, Tanya, sorry, we're having some difficulty here. We're gonna take off the ear pods, I
Yeah.
think.
These are the folks. This is the,
There we
the
go.
reality of technology. Go ahead.
Can you hear us now, Tanya?
Yes, go ahead.
Of course, the story that he
Uh, you guys are still cutting out. I feel like we gotta.
she walked to the van with him. He put her in. He shut the door. She asked him, "Where are we going? What are you doing? Are you a kidnapper?" It was almost like a conversation for a while, wasn't it, Rebecca?
Yeah, and he's just chit-chatting with her, asking her, "Where do you go to school? How old are you?" And at one point he tells her, she says, "Why are you doing this?" And he says, "Because you're pretty." And he says, "You know that, don't you?" And then they drive around for a while. She keeps saying, "Where are you going?" And then he stops the vehicle, and that's when it gets very graphic. Tanya, at one point, he tells her to take off her shirt, and she says, "Why?" And he says, uh, he doesn't really answer that. You can't really hear what he says. But then she says, "My mom says somebody shouldn't be doing this to me, and you shouldn't be doing this to me."
Right, yeah. Yeah, my mom said, "I can't do this to other people, and you can't do it to me either." So, what I think is interesting is that the state spent a lot of time yesterday proving up that DNA evidence or trying to bring that in. And I think it's going to be very clear that there was some very sexual
Mhm.
deviant things going on. Of course, by this point, we can't see, we can only hear what is going on. But she asks him several times, "What are you doing?" The poor child says, "Ouch,
Mhm.
ouch, ouch," multiple times. Asks him again, "What are you doing?" The point being is that we still have 30 minutes left of this audio, and this is about a year, an hour's worth
Yeah.
of torture that he has put her through. It's shocking because it gets quiet,
Uh-huh.
and then we all assume because you can hear the struggle, and we
You
all
hear her
assume,
crying.
yes, and we can all assume that she's passed, and then all of a sudden we'll hear her gasp, and we'll hear her cry, and we'll hear her moan, and then it'll get quiet.
And then he'll pull over, like he at one point he does take off, and then he hears her, so he pulls over, and then Tanya, you hear stomping or
Yeah.
slamming, like he's trying to hurt her more, and then he takes off. And then the most eerie thing is, at one point Jingle Bell Rock comes on, because remember this is around Christmas, and she is crying. She is, you could hear her crying, and he's just singing. He starts singing Jingle Bell Rock,
Yeah.
and then she's crying. Goes, shut up. He tells her multiple times, shut up. If you don't shut up, I'm going to come back there and hurt you more.
Yeah.
You need to shut up. I mean, he tells her to shut up several times.
What's eerie is that he turns on his flashers, and it's a FedEx truck. How many times have we driven by FedEx trucks, right, in our own neighborhoods? Well, he's turned on his flashers, and you can hear traffic pass by them. And I'm thinking those drivers had no idea what horror was going on in that van. It's
It's
unlike any, and the jury,
oh,
they're not only crying, they are sobbing. Some of them are sobbing.
and they're glaring at him, and he's sitting there. At one point he's just like this, holding his hands to his face, and he's just looking down. I mean, I don't know, Terry. I don't know how the defense gets past this. I mean, those jurors were very emotional.
Well, I think the part of the mitigating evidence that the defense is going to try to bring in, I don't know how it can negate the decisions that this man clearly made, because at first, it was questionable whether or not he had hurt her, so he put her in the van and, didn't know what to do, and he was confused and he made bad decisions. No, it's very calculated, and he definitely used this child for some kind of sexual
Yes,
gratification.
he did.
And
You can hear that. You can hear it. You can hear it on the audio.
yes, even though there wasn't an accusation in the indictment, it is clear that there was something sexual going on. Plus, we also know that there was DNA found on her body. And so I think that it's going to be very difficult for any defense expert to come in with mitigating evidence, whether it's because he grew up with a lot of trauma, he was an fetal alcohol syndrome, or whatever the case may be, because his mother drank when he was in the womb, whether he has autism, whether he has multiple personality disorder, which they now call really something completely different, or whether he's a sociopath or a psychopath. I don't think that a defense expert can change the way this trial is going to go, and that is coming from just watching this jury
Yeah.
and hearing for ourselves what he put her through.
Wow.
It's so haunting, Tanya, because when he's walking her to the van, I can't hear what they're talking. And by the way, he does drop off the Barbies first, and then he drops off the package, and then you see him, and when he first pulls over, you see him kind of looking around, almost like he does scope her out, like he sees her. You can't really see her at that point, but then you see her following him, and then him hoisting her up into that truck, and then into the van. And then she's asking, where are we going? Like she's going, initially she's just wondering, like, where are we going?
Right.
And like, no big deal at first, but then she realizes at some point that something's wrong.
Well, and you want to talk about calculated and premeditated. There are two cameras on this FedEx van. There is a dash cam, which is very similar to a police dash cam, where it projects out in front of the van. He covered that up immediately. That we never saw any video from that once he got to Athena's house. Then after he brought her into the van, brought her into that area, we've seen the picture of her standing there while he's driving. At that point, shortly thereafter, he covers that camera. And what's interesting is, Rebecca, you remember, he walked around that van and he looked into the passenger side window like he was scoping out the cameras. So it's totally premeditated. It's totally premeditated. This is not some person who freaked out and made bad decisions. To me, it looks very premeditated.
And we certainly don't see some alter ego come out while he is doing this to Athena.
Right.
It is very deliberate, and he knows exactly what he's doing.
Well, he's tortured her. He tortured her. And, they claim in the indictment that she could have died by suffocation, strangulation, or blunt force trauma to the head, stomping.
You
We heard it. We heard
You
it.
hear it. You
We
hear
heard it.
it.
And she's still alive. She's still alive.
She's still up, and we again, the judge says there's still 30 more minutes, so we know from the opening statements that the prosecutor says you hear him over and over and over and over again attempting to kill her and choke her and take her life, and that's what we are hearing, because just as we think, she's passed away, you hear her gasping and crying and screaming, moaning, and it is awful time.
And the defendant's face is this far from the defense table. I mean, he is leaning over with his face just inches away from that table. Because, and you know what I thought? This is just my impression, is that the audio is playing. There's no video, but it's video in his head.
Oh, yeah.
He is seeing all of that in his head. But again, a person, he is totally competent. There's no issue about competency. This man knows exactly what is going on, and he's not just out of it. He knows what's happening. He knows what he did. He's singing Jingle Bell Rock with a child screaming in the back of the van.
That was the word, because the whole thing is terrible, but when the Jingle Bell Rock comes on, and she's screaming the entire time, and then he starts singing over her screaming, and then keeps telling her shut up while Jingle Bell Rock is playing, and he's singing like nothing's happened. It is the most awful thing I've ever heard in a courtroom.
And I have to say, just as we're watching different actors in the courtroom, we clearly saw the emotions from the jury, and they're taking notes as well. Some of them are taking notes, but there was emotion from both sides of the table. The prosecutors were emotional. The defense attorneys were emotional. This is not easy for either side. And I know that I'm thinking that Tanner has, according to testimony, attempted suicide several times in his life. And I'm as Rebecca said, it makes you wonder, this is in the courtroom, it makes you wonder if the defense wouldn't just rest after this, because it's just so bad. However, those defense attorneys have a job that they have to do, and I admire them. It's hard. They're going to do their job, but I would not be surprised if he didn't say, I'm done. I mean, if he's truly someone who is remorseful or regrets what he did, and he's already been suicidal in the past, it makes me wonder if he would tell his lawyers, I'm done. But I know that they will continue with their case and bringing their experts, because that is what they're required to do. But it's not easy on them.
Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you guys. I cannot imagine what it was like for you and everybody else in that courtroom that heard that. Just listening to you describe it, I personally feel physically ill. I don't know if Jingle Bell Rock will ever be the same again.
Right.
No.
And so I am horrified, and thank you for telling us about it and explaining it to people. And Keith, do you have anything you want to add?
Probably a lot. I mean, wow. I think the thing that really, as Rebecca and Terry were describing it, the questions that she asked, hey, where are we going? What are you doing? Are you a kidnapper? I mean, so it's the stranger danger, what we teach our kids. She's processing all this. Unfortunately, it's too late because she's already in the van, but for that to happen, and I could only imagine as the realization's coming to her, like how crazy that is. But I tell you what, his response when y'all were describing that, how he says, well, but I did this because you're pretty, you know that, right? Oh my goodness. If the jury isn't livid at that point, I mean, and the prosecution, I think with the DNA, we wondered, well, does it show something? And now we totally know why they put all that stuff in and what was going on. And, Terry, you explained it well, like regarding just what was going on, the play-by-play kind of what she's saying, what he's doing, and everything. So
Right. Immediately after he says to her, "Take your shirt off," and she went, "Why?"
And she tells him no. I mean, she
Yeah.
says she does what her mom has told her to do. No, my mom says you're not supposed to be doing this to me.
Yeah, and then she asked him several times, "What are you doing?
Mhm.
What are you doing?" Well, as adults, we can assume we know what he was doing.
Yeah.
And she was confused and perplexed. She had no idea what was going on, and I just to hear her, you can hear the strangulation, and then you can hear her gasp later on as she is. Um, I don't know, because I'm not a doctor. I don't know how she can be
Yeah.
revived
Yeah.
from that, and he's clearly not reviving her, as far as I know.
No,
As
no,
far as I
he
know.
continues to inflict more pain on her,
Yeah.
and then gets angry because she's crying.
She won't shut up.
Yeah,
That's what he said. Shut up.
I mean, multiple times.
Do you want me to stop and come back there?
and hurt you more
And
than
hurt you more.
or worse?
Yeah, yeah. Y'all, it is deliberate. It is premeditated. It is calculated. It is, there's no confusion about it. He froze and panicked. No, he did not freeze and panic. No, not at all.
No, this is evil on a level that's just painful to listen to. Well, we're going to take a break for about a half an hour. We understand that court is going to resume at 1 o'clock, and
Yes.
that video will continue to play. We will again not be able to live stream during that. Keith and I will be back at 1, and then we will see you and Terry after y'all finish watching the video. And thank you again for doing this. We appreciate it.